Hi guys, welcome back to the Premier Life podcast. It's Dr. Kaytlynn here with you today, and today we're going to be talking about why kids need chiropractic care. Now, I know that many of our practice members start coming in for regular chiropractic care because of symptoms. So we're talking about pain, we're talking about headaches, we're talking about digestive issues. And when we're talking about kids, especially under the age of 3, it's not like they're coming in and presenting with a whole slew of systems or a whole slew of symptoms. And so you may ask yourself, why does my kid need to get checked? Why should my kid get regular chiropractic care? And my response to them is kids have chiropractic nervous systems just like the rest of us. And so in order to completely care for our health and to give our health the best chance it can to reach a good trajectory point, we need to be making sure that those nervous systems are getting checked and making sure that they're clear of interference all of the time. So today I'm going to go over just a couple of reasons why kids should get checked, some of the things that you can look for in your own kiddos that might, encourage you a little bit more to get them under regular chiropractic care. So many people don't realize, but during the developmental process of babies in utero, babies start to develop that immune system about week 13. Now, a lot of pediatricians will tell you that the reason why so many kiddos need to get such regular vaccines at the beginning of their childhood is because that immune system is not yet robust, not yet formed. Actually, there are studies that prove that immune system starts to develop beginning in utero, week 13. And so by the time they're born, they start to have some of those processes, though it's not as developed as most humans are. They still have some of those beginning processes in order to fight those infections. Now, especially with kiddos, there are a huge number of reasons why, pediatricians push certain procedures, push certain policies, especially when we're talking about ear infections, when we're talking about colic, when we're talking about digestive issues. And those are some of the things that, though we're not talking about symptoms, chiropractic care can help reduce. Let's talk primarily about ear infections first. A large majority of kiddos, when they have ear infections, the first line of defense that a lot of parents will take, and it's just because they don't know any other reason, they go see the pediatrician, and the pediatrician will often look in their ears, and a lot of times they'll give them an antibiotic. More often than not, antibiotics work on bacterial infections. But the most numerous number of ear infections tend to be viral in nature, meaning that the antibiotics aren't going to do anything to help with those ear infections. It's actually going to just destroy the normal gut microbiota that's already in that kiddo, and it's not going to do anything to help with the ear infection, which is why a lot of parents find that their kids are getting repeat ear infections, which then often lead to the tube conversation. And if there are ways that we can help naturally boost in the immune system and help the nervous system to start to regulate those patterns a little bit better, we find that kiddos have decreased in the number of ear infections, and we also find that kiddos recover a lot faster from ear infections. So there was this huge, gigantic study that was done in 1993 by a group of chiropractors in which they looked at ear infections and they looked at chiropractic care. 93% of the kiddos in that study, there were over 100 participants, found that with 1 to 2 chiropractic adjustments, the ear infections resolved themselves, compared to a different group of individuals who went the traditional medical route, which was recurrent antibiotic use as well as tubes. So if we can help reduce those ear infections, the severity, the length, the amount, we will have such healthier kiddos, and we'll have so much better parents who are able to walk through that process with them, who are not, suffering with lack of sleep and struggling because they just feel like their kid is sick all the time. So that's a really, really, really great study that just points to the effectiveness of chiropractic care and why kids should look at that route in regards to traditional medical procedures. One of the best things about chiropractic care with kiddos is that it is very safe, it is very gentle, it is very effective. I know many of our practice members have at least seen one of our doctors in our office at one point in time working on one of the kiddos, and I've had several questions about why are you adjusting kids and why is that baby why does that baby need the nervous system checked? And the reason that is that in utero, they go through a lot. They are undergoing an extreme amount of stress as they're starting to grow in that womb, and as more and more pressure is being placed on their body, as the space that they have within that uterus starts to become more and more small as they become bigger. Not only that, but birth itself is traumatic. It doesn't matter how you slice it, how you dice it. Birth is a very traumatic process. So a normal vaginal delivery typically exerts anywhere from 30 to 50 pounds of pressure on the fetal neck, mainly in that upper cervical region, base of the occiput, C1 and C2. And that's where a really highly concentration of our nervous system is, because that's where the spinal cord starts. That's where the brainstem is located. So that's where a lot of our sleep centers are, our respiratory centers, our heart centers. And so if we're not doing a good job of making sure that those areas are cleared after birth, then they can develop a lot of issues with irregular heart rates. That's why some babies don't sleep super well. That's why moms might find difficulty with babies latching if they're trying to breastfeed. So that's where we got like our colicky diagnosis. If we look at it in a different way, and if we talk about vaginal births compared to C-section births actually add an additional 100 to 150 pounds of pressure on that neck, okay? And that's because of the way that they have to get pulled out. They just yank, they distract the shoulder a little bit, pull up on the neck, which puts so much extra force and extra pressure on the base of that skull. And so a lot of reasons why moms will initially bring their kids, especially their babies, in for a first chiropractic adjustment is because they're having those issues with the colic. They're having those issues with the breastfeeding. They're having those issues with baby not sleeping at night. And so if there's a way to help regulate that nervous system so the body can take the stress that it's experienced in birth, take the pressure off the system to heal better, and to adapt in a better way, our kids are going to be set up towards a much better trajectory. As kids start to get a little bit older, we experience more trauma and more stress. As they're starting to learn how to crawl, as they're starting to learn how to walk, as they're taking the tumbles off of the beds and off of the couches, because parents can't always have eyes on their kids. Those accidents just happen. It's a part of life. But the great thing is that nervous system encased in that spine is protected, but it doesn't mean that we don't need to do our due diligence to make sure that the nervous system is clear of all of that stress, okay? So those are some of those traumas that we think about as those kids are starting to develop. But then we also have the other starts of trauma and the other parts of stress, okay? So we talked about the physical stress, but let's talk about the chemical stress. Back in 1983, the number of doses for vaccines from birth until 18 years old was 11, okay? That was over 42 years ago, 11. Last year, according to the CDC website, that number of doses has grown to 78. That is almost sevenfold from 1983 to 2024. Pediatricians a lot of times help push that narrative of that vaccine because they're trying to help develop the immune system, and they're trying to say that the kids don't naturally have that immune system. But we learned that that nervous system helps develop that immune system in week 13 of utero. But a lot of conversations aren't being had about the toxic load that these vaccines are having on our kiddos, especially since that amount of those injections are going into the kids has been so drastic. But that's a lot of the reasons why have we all these increase in these ADHD diagnoses, why we have all of these other neurological compulsive diagnoses. And so if there is a way to take that toxic load off of those kids, if parents choose to vaccinate, chiropractic care is a good way to help detox the body, help take the stress off the nervous system so communication can better be restored from the brain to the spinal cord and out to every single cell, tissue, organ, just so those kids can function a little better. For those of our practice members who have chosen, to take a different route, who have done some of their research, who have wanted to look at all of the facts, the good and the bad about vaccines, and have chosen not to vaccinate, chiropractic care is a great way to help maintain that child's immune system. Every time a chiropractic adjustment is performed, the immune system is boosted by over 60%. That's huge. So the kids who aren't having that vaccine, now have a different option to kind of get more of that natural immunity. And chiropractic is a great way to help maintain the health, especially since everywhere we look, there are toxins everywhere. We have all of these food additives, we have food dyes, we have food coloring. Like, our world has just become so driven by convenience in regards to our food and the chemicals in our food that our kids are just experiencing so much toxic overload, more so than ever before. So one of the other biggest reasons why we need to look at that chiropractic adjustment in regards to facilitating the healing and the restoring of the nervous system is because there's just a lot going on with those kids, and they're experiencing more stress than ever before. If we look back 20 years, we'll see all of the differences in regards to increase in diagnosis of developmental disorders, neurocognitive things, ADHD diagnoses. Like, our kids need help, and chiropractic care is a great natural way to help facilitate that system. Use it as a preventative measure so we don't have these slew of autoimmune conditions later in the future, because we want our kids to live a vibrant, healthy life. And if there's anything that we can do to help take the stress off that system, that's a great way to start. It's a great way. So if you're a parent sitting here saying, why would I get my kid checked? Why would I get my nervous system adjusted, especially as a kiddo? The reason is because we want our kids to be healthy. And the best way to do that is the nervous system health. Because if we don't do something about it, our trajectory down the road is going to be so much worse. So, some of those things that you can look for in your kids, especially if they're not at the age where they're talking, experiencing, or exhibiting symptoms, is some of our soft signs. So if you're looking at your baby and if they're frequently tugging at their ears, or you see that they're not sleeping well, or you see that they are super scrunched, meaning that their knees are kind of tucked in tight to their chest, that could be a good soft sign that you might see that they might need a little bit of help facilitating that nervous system to heal and to repair, so that that stress can help be taken off the system so their functioning can be better. Because at the end of the day, we want all of our kids to function as well as possible and to, just really excel at everything they do. And so some of that starts with taking the step of getting those kiddos checked as early as possible to make sure that their nervous systems are setting them up right for the future. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we will see you all next time.